Okay, I have a Dell Dimension E521. This is my power supply that is just conked out on me. The part number is NH493, model number 305P01. You can check the model number of your power supply with the sticker on the side. And this is the L305P01, part number NH493. If you try to buy these online, there are no new ones available, and the second-hand ones are quite expensive, and the ones that are even reasonably priced, you'll be thinking, well, do I want to pay £20 or something for something that may just last another year, seeing as it's come out of an old machine, or maybe some been laying around somewhere or something like that. Anyway, I thought I'll get a new power supply, so I opted for a CORSAIR CX500, which is more 500 watts. This is 305 watts. Now, as you can see, even though they're supposed to be both ATX form factor, this is now like the standard size and depth. The Dell power supply is about 1 centimeter deeper, as you can probably see here. Other than that, all the other dimensions are the same. Now, the problem is what? I expected that this would come with recesses to support the weight. So if we look here, there's 2 recesses here, and there's another one here. So this holds the weight of the power supply when it's inside the case, your computer case, apart from the screws, the 4 screws on the back. So I opened my machine up, went to put in this new power supply, and I thought, okay, what am I going to do? Because these recesses here, they correspond to protrusions on the case, and the problem with that is, number one, there's nothing to support the weight of this other power supply except for the screws at the back, and secondly, the protrusions that clip in here, they push the power supply away from the case, and so that happens in 3 areas. So you have trouble aligning the screws on the back. And I've seen that someone else, I think it's in French or something, on YouTube, someone else installed one of these CORSAIR power supplies in a Dimension E521, and I was looking, and I didn't understand the French language on there, and even though I did French, the only thing I failed, probably would have helped if I'd have revised, but leaving that aside, I couldn't see how he got the thing in. And so anyway, I was trying to push the protrusions and things like that, and I eventually was pushing them with a hammer, and I got about, I don't know, 2 millimeters worth of give out of it, of movement, which has helped. I mean, I've tried to put it in, but the issue is the supporting of the weight. So you can get the thing in, but the supporting of the weight. Now, you might be just happy with the screws holding it in, but I'm not happy with that. So what I did, and this is why I say never throw anything away. If you look here, this comes with the power supply, but I mean any plug you get these days with an electrical appliance usually will come with one of these protectors or covers over the plug pins, okay? And you'll see when I show you in the other segment. But inside the case, there's a protrusion or like a little shelf point which supports the weight of the original power supply, apart from the screws, like I've said, and the other recesses. But what you do then, seeing as there are no recesses, you need to put something on that shelf. And so if we look here, not the 2 below, but the one on top, the top pin of the plug cover, take some pliers or cable cutters and snip that off, because you're going to use that and you're going to wedge it in above that protrusion, that shelf, and that then will help support the weight of your power supply. Now, another thing to notice about this is now about 7 years old when I originally bought it, and some of the standard connections have changed a little in terms of, you get more things now. So if this is a shrimp, then this thing here is an octopus. Yeah, but thankfully they do give you, they supply you with some cable ties so you can tidy that up. So hopefully you'll see it fit in nicely, and it can be achieved even though, like we said, there's about a centimetre depth difference, and with those protrusions as well you can push them down a little, be careful, and you can fit the thing in. Okay, see you later. Okay, we have our Dell Dimension E521 case here and the Corsair power supply. Remember, there are no recesses on the power supply to hold it in place, just the screws only. Now some people will think that's sufficient, but just to give extra support, like I mentioned earlier, I cut this, so that will rest inside here on top of a little protruding shelf. As for the recesses, not the recesses, the clips that protrude, just a little bit of pressure with a hammer, very carefully, because you don't want to wreck your motherboard. Just if you can, any movement to flatten them out, so that the thing will lie more flush against the case, so that you can align the screws. Okay, this here is the protruding shelf that I'm talking about, and these are the two clips that go into the recesses on the old power supply, which our new power supply doesn't have, and that's the other clip. So that and those two need to be pressed down if you can, as much as you can, without hurting yourself and without breaking anything. And this shelf here will have this piece of plastic, or anything you can find that will fit between that and the power supply, will slot in there like that, so that we can gain some extra support for the weight of the power supply. Okay, also the length of the power supply is, it's in properly because there is a flexible clip here with two protruding pieces of metal, which will you'll know because you'll hear it click into place. Okay, so here just applying a bit of pressure to the clip. Obviously you don't want to push too much, but trying to get it flattened out a little. Obviously it helps because the case itself is a bit flexible anyway, so you get some movement. And the side ones here, just want to try and push them down a little. Okay, another thing you can see here, I'm applying pressure on the power supply, and you can see that the case has some give in it, and you need to use that give, that movement, so that you can align the screw with the hole here, because like I said, the protrusions, they prevent that a little bit. So you do it until you get enough movement for you to get the screws in, and then you'll be okay. Okay, so that's our piece of plastic there slotted in, and that will just help to support the weight, and hopefully it won't melt as well. Just squeeze it in so it's tight, and then we're okay, hopefully, God willing. Okay, so this here is the 24-pin connector, the main power supply to your motherboard. If you can see, the top left and right
connectors are square and others are like arched, angled but arched. So you just have to match those up to the motherboard shapes in the socket. So that's the 24-pin socket down there. And if we move over here, under that blue cable there is the CPU socket, which you can see only has 4 pin sockets inside there. So if you look at the CORSAIR cable for the CPU, it has 8, but they're like 2 of the same together in terms of their profile, so you just have to put 1/2 in, and again matching up the socket shapes, because the top left corner is square, and so you'll be able to match that up properly. And this here is a SATA cable connection, and these will slot into the sockets on your hard drives and optical drives, your DVD or CD drives. And you can see that the connection is L-shaped, so you can't get that wrong. It can only fit in one way. The only issue now, of course, is how to tidy up this spaghetti of octopus legs everywhere with all the extra cables that I don't use, but at least they've given some cable ties, very decent of them. Okay, praise be to God, my system is up and running again, which means I can get back to my work. What I can say is I almost had a heart attack, or not quite a heart attack, but some quick onset of depression and confusion when the thing was not coming on. But the reason for that was that the cable, the 24-pin cable, wasn't pushed in sufficiently. So thank God for that, and there I am. We're working on it, we've been working on it, and we're back.